Hey, man. I was trying to find out what his channel was. I'll be live here in a minute, Louis. Hey, sis. Louis, say hello to my sis.
Hey, get started. Welcome to the Creating the World of Infinite Warfare Navy meets NASA Design panel. I'm super excited for you guys to hear this conversation with these guys. When the panel is over, they will be going outside for meet and greet, pictures and things like that. We'll be clearing this room to prep for the next panel. If you would like to attend that next panel, we will be lining up again outside. It'll go a little more smooth than a moment ago. Sorry about that. But yeah, just jump back in line and you can get in line for the next
What's
panel.
up, Finn?
So once they're finished, they'll exit out and then I'll direct you to go from there. So yes, enjoy.
Thank you. All right. So you guys having a good time at COD XP 2016?
Yes,
right.
very much so.
All right, cool. So some quick introductions. My name is Brian Horton. I'm Studio Art Director at Infinity Ward. I'm going to go around and do some introductions here. We have Joby Harris from NASA JPL. Come on, applause, everyone.
From NASA, bro.
We have Peter Meegan. We have Peter Meegan, also from NASA JPL.
Yay!
We have Thomas Sakose. He is our concept lead at Infinity Ward. We have Aaron Beck, principal concept artist at Infinity Ward. Mr. John Noby, lead artist on MP. All right, so today we're going to be talking a little bit about creating the world for infinite warfare. And this has been a really interesting challenge for us because Call of Duty is known for making the most authentic military shooters in the industry. And we wanted to do something new, something different. And that was to take Call of Duty into the future and into space. So how do we bring that authenticity into a space that we don't really see, that we can't reference? And that's sort of the theme of this discussion today, is where NASA meets Navy. That's sort of the fundamental principles that we went through to thinking about bringing legitimacy to bringing space to Call of Duty. So here we go. Let's see if I can get some slides going on here. No slides. All right, so let's start off the conversation. There we go. Creating the world.
What's up, Brian? What's up, sis? What's up, Finn?
So the first thing we think about is, obviously we're from Hollywood. We come from a land where we make believe. I mean, that is one of the great things about Hollywood. It is not all of us, but the thing that's cool is we talked about this is in the world of Hollywood, we're often influenced by the things around us, and then for you guys in NASA, for all of us, we've been influenced by NASA.
We're influenced by you also.
Yeah. So I think it was that cross-pollination, and what we wanted to talk about today was how we influence each other and hopefully coming up with a better product. So, we have a few pictures of our studio here and people working. There's obviously a lot of work and craftsmanship that goes into making a game like this, a lot of research involved, and takes a lot of hard work, dedication, a lot of testing. We want to make a fun game for everybody. But it starts with an idea, and it starts with a principle. We wanted to make the most authentic space military shooter we possibly could, and we wanted to brand that with something that was that we could recognize, and that was where we came up with NASA meets Navy. So, Tom, I'd like you to talk a little bit about what that was like for our concept team thinking about that difficult problem.
So NASA meets Navy, there are two distinct aesthetics. NASA tends to be a little bit more exposed, not as much shielded elements. When you go to Navy, things are a bit more neutralized, elements are more shielded off. So there was a balance that we defined, but we tended to lean more towards Navy when it came to silhouettes. And then we'd introduce about maybe like 30-40% NASA to it, so we could retain this military feel.
Yeah, because ultimately ultimately they have two very different goals. NASA, and that's why I'm going to talk to you guys. When we think about NASA, you've often talked about the challenges of coming up with design, because it often comes down to function. So maybe you could talk a little bit about what it means to come at it from that perspective.
Okay. Well, I think the big thing with space is everything is pragmatic, right? I mean, you watch the movies, you see really awesome, crazy windows or whatever it is. You want to take things and make it as easy for us as possible, right? And kind of like you were saying, it's kind of exposed because we want to be able to access everything, be able to affect it. And the engineering is as practical as possible, right? And for us, mass is the biggest thing. The heavier it is, the harder it is to get into space. So we want to cut everything down to as bare bones as possible.
Yeah, and I think that was one of the conflicts, right? Because you want to create these heavy, cool-looking machines, shielded. They're able to withstand the ballistic attacks.
And the thing is that whatever you put into space has to go 25,000 miles per hour just to get out of the Earth's gravitational pull, right? So that's why you're limited to a certain amount of, space, size, mass. You get it up into space, and there are people now at JPL figuring out how to get something as small as possible to unfold as big as possible. Once you're up in space, you're not limited by anything, even gravity. You can use incredibly heavy materials up there, and you're totally fine. But really, the big obstacle is getting stuff up into space. And you guys figured out, basically what the space industry is figuring out too is that you get parts up, and then you build what you're going to have up there, right?
Yeah, and that was one of our goals, was to try to create an aesthetic that was both recognizable and functional in some way. So here we have a slide that sort of talks a little bit about the different carriers and warships that we have and how they correspond to something we see in the U.S. Navy. So I know, Tom, that was a big thing. It's like we wanted to create some silhouettes that were recognizable.
Yeah, so, if you want to compare what the aircraft carrier looks like, that of course is a main hub of our game in single player. So we felt it was important to retain that flat top since this was a carrier in space. So here's a nice shot of the retribution and atmosphere. We went through a process of mind mapping what it would take to all the systems that would be involved in creating a carrier of something that would have to be spacefaring and military at the same time. This also helped our narrative team figure out what spaces need to be, where they need to be in proximity to each other, so the player could traverse quickly. We contracted Mike Hill, who's an amazing concept artist, to help us really figure out the ins and outs of what this ship needed to do. And he worked very closely with our design team to really, to figure this out.
Playing the drums.
So this is a really cool piece by Ben Last. He kind of created this nice